Okay, so here is one of my first remedies for elbow tendonitis. So before I preface that, I'm going to talk about fixing golfer's elbow first. But there's two different types of elbow tendonitis, or at least two of the most common types that you'll hear about and that you'll have. One's golfer's elbow, which is inflammation of the tendon on the underside of your forearm. And then there's tennis elbow, which is inflammation of the tendons at the top of your forearm. For me, being an athlete that was pulling on things, particularly the deadlift and handlebars in a standing start, I got golfer's elbow. And what I didn't understand, and now I understand, is most injuries are due to, unless there's a specific trauma that causes the injury, it's generally due to overuse. So golfer's elbow is a overuse injury, and it was because I was simply just pulling on stuff way too much and not working on the opposing muscles to the muscles that were getting overdeveloped. In that case, the meaty part of your forearm on the underside. And the pain from golfer's elbow, if you've ever had it, and if you do, you're probably watching this, it shoots up from about this part of your elbow all the way up. Not all the way up, but just this entire band here of a few inches. And it's excruciating pain when it hits. And the one thing I found that fixes it, and I had seen it and thought that there's no way that's going to do it, it's got to be my arm is too weak under here, so I have to work it out more, exercise it more, get it stronger. Oh. If the 52 or 53-year-old me could talk to my younger self, oh my goodness, I would have told him, smacked him in the face and told him that, no, you idiot, that's not what happens. The problem is this muscle is overdeveloped, and you're not, the opposing muscle isn't developed enough, and you need to give this muscle a rest and build that muscle over the top. And that was something it took me a long time to recognize. So back to the remedy that I saw, and what it was is a foam. It kind of reminds me of a dog's chew toy. It's a cylinder with ribs on it. Not that the ribs matter, but the ribs kind of give it a little bit of texture and something to grip on. But the point of it is that it's a round doggy chew toy, and the idea is you twist it like I'm doing with this towel. And what this does is, again, keep in mind the problem is under here. What this does is, I don't know if you can see it, when you're twisting the top of my elbow, it gets contracted. And what you're doing here is actually working out the opposing muscle, which is the muscle on top. And when I tried this, I gave it a shot. I didn't want to buy the chew toy, so I tried what I had heard is to use a towel. When I tried it, being completely skeptical, a few days later, I realized it worked. And I smacked myself in the head and realized how many months of pain I dealt with to ignoring this simple problem. And so this is keep in mind, this is a rather anemic towel. You want to get something a little bit more meat to it. But this is not bad. Maybe a little bit thicker than this. Something that you can really get a hold of and grip. What I found is, since I drive a lot, or I used to drive a lot when I worked a lot more, I couldn't do this. And driving is a lot of downtime. So what I realized was I could adapt the towel trick, and though I wouldn't be able to use work on both hands at the same time, or both elbows at the same time. Frankly, the elbow that really was hurting was this one, my dominant hand. What I did was I took one of my grip strength tools, which of using it in the normal way was actually exacerbating the problem, because you're contracting the lower part of your forearm. What I found was if I squeeze it and twist like I would the towel, I could drive and work this out and listen to a podcast and be super, super productive. But this really did the trick. And it was great because I just, hours of the day doing this. I don't say hours of the day, but quite a bit of time doing this. Solve that problem. Now, is it going to work for everyone? Probably no. But the one thing I will preface it also with this whole thing is, if you have tendon issues, the toughest part is not the remediation, it's the rest. You need to allow your tendons to become less inflamed. And that's either rest, ice, or using anti-inflammatories, which, I'm kind of against using, but once I realized like how good, ibuprofen, the amount of good it'll do to help you get that inflammation down so you can get started sooner for physical therapy or remediation or whatever you want to call it, the better off you are. So if you take that through that approach, take some rest, take some time off. Super hard to do, I know. Go for walks or use more legs than pulling. Icing and anti-inflammatory drugs. And that kind of cocktail in varying degrees will get you to a place where you can start doing stuff like this. But man, golfer's elbow really sucks. And so, like, as a teaser to the next part of this, the tennis elbow, again, still not quite learning everything. I invariably started to overwork the top of my elbow, the brachialis, and started having tennis elbow. But I'll leave that for another time. Hope this helps. Please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and leave a comment if you have any questions, and let me know if it helps or doesn't help, or you found something else that works. Thanks for watching.